about to see a profound change in the way we think about schools and education. Now, don't worry, there's nothing we need to do to make that change happen. That change is already happening. In fact, in large part, it's already happened. If I were to ask most people to describe school, what they would say is it's a place with walls and a classroom, and it's a place that kids come to and they learn skills and they learn knowledge, and the teachers come and they teach skills and they teach knowledge, and the kids perform certain tasks and the teachers evaluate those tasks, and then the kids, you know, if they pass that, they go into another class where they learn more skills and more knowledge from new teachers, and eventually they proceed along this assembly line and pop off and go to college or to a career. And if I were to ask most kids today to describe school, they would say pretty much the same thing. And if I were to ask my grandmother to describe school, she would say pretty much the same thing. Because guess what? Schools haven't changed much in form, function, or purpose in the last 150 years. They were designed for industrial jobs in the industrial era, and they really haven't changed. Now, it's almost as if in each one of these classrooms, kids are packing a suitcase. They're packing a suitcase of skills and knowledge, and they're carrying it through. And then at the end, they get to toddle off pretty much with whatever they need for their career for the rest of their lives. And the other thing that is important to remember about schools during this time is that they're pretty much the one-stop shop for knowledge and skills. There was no place else to get knowledge or skills. So if you ended up during this period changing jobs, you had to go back to school to retrain. There was nowhere else to get knowledge or skills. So we know that a lot of those things just simply aren't true anymore. And so the real question becomes, what is school going to be like in 5 years? Now, there are a lot of reasons that schools have to change, but one of the most important reasons that schools have to change is kids' mental health. There is a 1 in 5 chance of having a major mental disorder if you're under the age of 18. That's shocking, so let me repeat it. 20% of our kids are diagnosable with a major mental disorder. That's bad enough, but figure that here is this entire diagnosable population, and underneath it is an entire subpopulation of people who are maybe not quite diagnosable, but almost, so they're not depressed, they're just sad, they're not anxious, they're just nervous. So it's a very grouchy population of kids. That should shock us just on a humanitarian level. We ought to be just really upset about that. We're driving our kids crazy. But the other part of that is that the kids of today are the adults of tomorrow. So these are the people who are going to be running your cities, your schools, your countries, your daycare centers, and your old age homes. Think about it. So there are lots of things that could be making that happen. There are a lot of different speculations about why there's a mental health crisis among kids. But I would submit that one of the biggest reasons is school. Learning is a natural instinct, and achievement is supposed to be fun. So if we're sending kids off every day, all day long, to places where they're supposed to be learning and achieving, and they're coming home sad and depressed, we're probably not doing something right. Kids go every day to places where the workload is massive, the pressure is unrelenting, the stakes are high, and there's no guarantee of success even if they do have the requisite talent and abilities and motivation. So, and a lot of these kids think of this as a dichotomy. Either you win or you lose, either you pass or you fail. So I asked a 14-year-old one time, what would happen if she got less than an A? What happened if she got an A-? During the entire time that she was in high school, and she said, I wouldn't get into MIT. And I said, well, okay, what happens if you don't get into MIT? And she said, well, I would have to be a janitor. Really? So we put a whole bunch of kids into a classroom. We teach to the middle. The kids who are advanced are bored. The kids who are behind are frustrated. They spend all day long doing things to which they're not connected at all. Or are only minimally connected. And lots of times they have no idea where this is supposed to come out or why it is they're doing what they're doing. A 9-year-old said to me one time, you know, I understand that this math program is supposed to be step by step by step by step, and I understand I'm supposed to take one step at a time, but Jadis, I could be walking to Paris for all I know. And she was right. She had no idea where she was going with what she was doing. So that's a problem. But the other reason that schools need to change is that they are absolutely not teaching to the jobs of the future. In fact, they're not teaching to the jobs of today. There is no suitcase big enough. You can't stuff it tight enough to address all of the needs of today's jobs. There's just no way to do that. There's not a day that goes by that I don't get told that there's some new application that isn't going to allow me today to do something that I couldn't do yesterday because we either didn't have the technology or nobody thought of it. So every single day, things are changing, and new employers know that that's the case. And people who are graduating from school know that that's the case. New employers don't want people with a big suitcase. They want people who can react flexibly to those ever-changing conditions, and they want people who can creatively problem solve, who can mix in with a lot of different types of people, who can work with other people, who can present an opinion or have a voice. So the suitcases of yesterday don't work for the jobs of today. Now, for a long, long time, we've been saying that education needed to change. And for a long time, we've been predicting change. In fact, if you went to any education conference for the last 40 years, there's some bozo that's always standing up saying we're going to have a profound change in education. So I'm in good company. But the reason we did that is because for a long, long time, we thought that computers, as soon as we could envision computers in a classroom, we thought that that was going to change everything. But in fact, it didn't change everything. With computers, what happened was kids did the same things for the same people. Teaching was still unidirectional, and it was evaluated by the teacher. It's just that they did, things the kids did were, prettier, faster, and easier with a computer, but they were pretty much the same thing. So kids wrote an essay and got evaluated on the essay. They just did it on a computer. So things didn't change very much. But in the last 5 years or so, there has been an explosion of interactivity and social media. And so what we've seen now is that people can consult an expert online, they can critique an expert online, they can discuss an expert online, they can take a class online, they can take a college course online, they can take a course from MIT online. There's almost no skill that you can't get online. You can learn how to plant a bonsai tree or put on a barrette or tie a skirt or tie a sailing knot or tie a suture. You can learn almost anything you need to learn online. So kids are coming, actually, to kindergarten now in first grade. They already know how to read because they learned to read on their mom's iPad. The skills that we used to teach are now available elsewhere. And the people who are most flexible with this explosion of interconnectivity, the people who use it most often are the people who are just having babies today. So 5 years from now, when their babies are about ready to go off to school, they're going to be asking, why should we be sending our children off to a place to get knowledge and skills when they can get those same knowledge and skills in my living room more effectively and efficiently? These kids, these young parents are not likely, when they need to learn something new, their first thought isn't, I'll go back to school. It's, I'll look online. So they're going to be asking, why should they be sending their kids to a place to gain knowledge and skills when knowledge and skills are available elsewhere? And that's a good question. It's a great question. We need to be asking that question, and we need to be thinking of an answer, because if we don't, then schools are going to be pretty much as obsolete as alarm clocks. So I've been giving it some thought, because I think it's important to answer this. And the first thing that comes to mind is that school is where the kids are. So when you have a lot of other kids, you can learn to collaborate, you can learn to coordinate, you can learn to present your views. If you have kids with a diverse population of abilities, then you learn about how to deal well with people of different strengths and weaknesses and people with different needs. So you learn tolerance. Also, because primary school is an age of great social comparison, you learn your own strengths and weaknesses. So you learn personal insight and acceptance. Sports. It's hard to do sports in your living room on your computer. Similarly, the arts. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you can do with the arts on a computer, but really it's important to have an audience, and it really feels good to have other people with whom you can create something and be creative. And to do that, you have to have a school that, of course, that is supportive of creativity and self-confidence and self-expression. And on that same note, rhetoric, the ability to find your voice and to use that voice to persuade other people or to inform other people or to tell a story, the ability to listen to somebody else's opinion and respond respectfully and articulately to that other person's opinion. All of those things are important. School is also where the teachers are. And we all remember those 1 or 2 or 3 mentors in our lives that made such a difference because they either supported us in a passion we already had or found a new passion for us, inspired us in some new way. And those people will be online a little bit, but that personal connection is very, very important and life-changing. So school is some place where you'll be able to find the teachers. History. Every child should know his place in time and space. And there will be a lot of stuff that you can do with history online. There will be games that are going to be kind of interesting. Kids can learn lots of facts about history online. Dates, names, places, battles. But in order to really understand an era, it's a good idea to reenact it and discuss it. And for that, you need other reenactors. And along with history comes civic awareness and cultural awareness and civic responsibility. The idea that we are part of a community at school, and that community is part of a larger community, and that community is part of a global community, and we're responsible for that global community and all of its inhabitants. That's something that you can get at school. And finally, kids need to know how to ask a question, answer a question, and present their data. And some of that will be sifting through the huge amounts of information that are available online, but some of it will also be performing hands-on experiments, controlling variables, all of those things that comprise science. So those are all things that you will still be able to get at school. I think also, you know, maybe I'm an idealist, but I think that in the future we're going to start becoming much more careful and caring and mindful of kids' mental health. So we'll start utilizing all of the many lessons that are coming out of the field of positive psychology right now and in the classroom. You know, if you ask almost any parent what they want for their child, they say they want their child to grow up to be happy, healthy, and productive. And I think that in the future, schools will be evaluated on all 3 of those criteria instead of just one. And finally, the values of our society, how to be persistent with a difficult task, how to be resilient in the face of adversity, how to be compassionate, and how to be kind. Those are all things you can learn at school. So when people ask me what school is going to be like 5 years from now, I haven't a clue. I have no way of predicting what technology is going to be available or what applications will be commonplace. We can't predict that. But I do know that our job for all of these years of being the knowledge factories and the skill mills, of just providing knowledge and skills, that's fading. In fact, it may already have been faded. And much more important things are going to come to the fore. And I think that those things are things that are going to make the new classroom very exciting. Thank you.